So hey everyone, I wanted to make a quick video today about a pretty horrific injury I suffered yesterday. Now, I'm going to be wearing these glasses for pretty much the whole video, and if you want to see what I look like, I'm going to take them off quickly for 1 second. Apparently I don't look too good, and some people are a bit squeamish with stitches and stuff, so if you don't want to see everything, just skip a couple seconds. So for those of you who stayed, yeah, so I look awful. Swollen eye, 9 stitches in my head. I got a broken nose as well. Nose is still broken. Probably hear it in my voice because one of my nostrils is pretty blocked. But yeah, not looking my best. I think I'll just put these back on. But I wanted to take this video to really explain why the NHS is so important and why we should fight the Boris Johnson government's and right-wing attempts to really prioritise it. And it's been going on for the last 10 years, I'd say. And I want to link it back to American politics, where you just don't have, I guess, not the quality of care, but the fact that I didn't have to pay out of pocket for any of the stuff that happened to me. So how did I get so injured? I'm going to put some images on screen. You probably see the images of my injury. Basically, the people who tune into my live streams know I play football. I was at football training last night, so that was Wednesday night, and the ball was going out of play in my own half, so it was going to go off for a corner essentially. So I'm running back, I stop the ball before it goes over the line for a corner, I pass it to my goalie, the momentum takes me behind the goal, and what I don't see is that these little goals are actually attached with metal bars to the fence, because we don't normally use these goals. We normally play 11-a-side matches versus the first team, but today we were just playing a 7-a-side match for ourselves, so we're using the smaller goals. So I didn't see this massive square pole attached to the back of the goal, so I just ran straight into it. I think I might have seen it at the last minute because I've only got the cut and the injury on this sort of side of the face. But yeah, it's obviously a stupid place to put a massive thing like that, and I nearly hit my head again as I was getting up to get onto the stretcher. But anyway, that's what happened, right on the floor, and yeah, my whole world was rocked. I was like seeing double. Everyone on the team was super nice about it. Sorry if you can hear a dog. Everyone on the team was super nice about it. They really helped me out, so I really appreciate all those guys' work. So they don't know me that well, and I also don't know I'm making a YouTube video on this, but yeah, I'm really grateful to everything they did. So within about 30 minutes, the paramedics showed up. They were nice, made sure I was all okay, did some checks, got me into the stretcher, and basically took me to the ambulance, got me in the ambulance, asked me if I wanted any anaesthetic, if I wanted laughing gas, if I wanted ibuprofen, if I wanted an injection, and I said no. Why did I say no? Because I'm hard, mate. No, seriously, just because I didn't feel so bad and I didn't really fancy being put on any drugs, so I just said no. So then we drove to the ambulance, had a nice conversation with the paramedic sitting with me in the back. She was from New Zealand, talking about, like, is it fun to drive the ambulance, all that stuff. I was feeling pretty rubbish. I'll post some pictures of me in the ambulance, so you can see it's in the thumbnail as well. Didn't look too good, loads and loads of blood. So then they get me into a wheelchair, get me off the back of the ambulance, take me to the hospital. It's very crowded, but they get me like sort of checked in. I wait in the chair, my dad comes because I gave him a ring before. Wait for maybe half an hour, and then I get seen by a nurse. I have to clean up all the blood off my face, it's way too much. And then the nurse is really nice, and I mentioned on Twitter she was a black lady, so she's either Afro-Caribbean, which I think she was based on her name. She's called Michelle. I'm not going to say her second name, but she was really nice. And I'm going to talk about why that matters later, but basically we demonise immigrants so much in this country. Think about things like the Windrush scandal, it's actually such a joke. And here I'm at a hospital where nearly, I think pretty much every single nurse and doctor I saw was immigrant or immigrant descendant. So it shows how important they are for the NHS. But she was super nice. What followed was probably the most painful half an hour of my life, because she had to put injections here, because this is where the massive cut was, and she said it's one of the most painful places to get an injection, including your nose, because there isn't a lot of skin, and especially, you know, in adults, you don't have much skin, so that was really painful. I had to ask for some cotton to put in my mouth to bite down on. I feel like I dealt with it pretty well, but it was awful. So and then she stitched me up, which was alright. It hurt a tiny bit because some of it wasn't didn't have as much anaesthetic as the rest of it, but it wasn't actually so bad. I just closed my eyes. Then gave me a tetanus shot because I cut myself on some metal. What else? Put some stuff on my nose. You can see I got some, I don't know what they're called, but I'm not allowed to move them or anything. And yeah, basically she was just very nice. We had a good conversation, and then about midnight I left the hospital and came home, and I basically just stayed up because I didn't want to go to bed because my head was pounding. And yeah, that was the long and short of it. Overall, I'm pretty annoyed at myself because I've been blaming myself a lot for the injury, but then I've been thinking that is a ridiculous place to put a massive bar of metal. Why? Like, I understand the bottom bar of metal. Why is there another one? And because we never use those goals, I didn't realise it was there. But if we're playing 11-a-side, those goals are on the side, so anyone could run into them. So it's pretty ridiculous. Like, not enough that I could sue them or something, and not that I'd want to, because it's a community centre, and like I appreciate the work they do there, and it's always a nice atmosphere seeing all the different people go there to, you know, do dancing or do football or do different sports. So yeah, I don't want to cause them any trouble, but it is, I couldn't see it, and as you can see with the picture, it sort of blends into the cage it's on. So if you're running, imagine you're running towards the goal and then you come round the back quickly. That's why I didn't see it coming. So yeah, I'm annoyed at myself. They said the head stuff should heal quite quickly, but I still have a broken nose and they're not fixing it till next Friday, which is really annoying for me, not only because I could look ugly, even though I think the glasses do quite a good job at hiding a lot of the ugliness, but I'll be out of football for a while, which is annoying because I've been trying to play at a bit more of a high level, and my fitness has been really good lately, and it's just another setback. The one thing I'm hoping, sorry if you hear sirens, one thing I'm hoping is I've had really bad migraines lately. I'm hoping it might have knocked the migraine out of me, because I haven't been feeling any migraine stuff since. But yeah, sorry, I apologise for the sirens. But yeah, so what I want to make the overall point is, obviously, feel sorry for me please, but the overall point is that I didn't have to pay any money for this. I didn't have to pay for the ambulance, I didn't have to pay for the treatment, I don't have to pay for the follow-up treatment that I'm going to get, maybe some x-rays and stuff for my nose. I'm not going to have to do any of that because we have the NHS, right? And that's so important, because what happened to me is just like a freak accident, right? But I smashed my head at the end of the day. I can't just say, no doctors for me. I can't just say, don't take me to the hospital because I've hit my head. It's a serious head injury. It could cause me, you know, it could maybe kill me. I can't just say, no thank you. But that is why you have a national health service, is because I'm from a pretty, not extremely well off, but I'm pretty comfortable in terms of my family and stuff. So my dad, if we lived in America, could probably pay for me to get this. But if you're anyone else who's lower income or just doesn't have any money to pay for these things, what are you meant to do? Just go bankrupt? Go in debt for life because you've had a stupid accident where you've whacked your head somewhere and you've broken your nose? And that's why it's totally ridiculous when you see candidates like Elizabeth Warren or Tulsi Gabbard and all these other corporate Dems, I'm not saying they're corporate Dems, but the corporate Dems flip-flopping on Medicare for all. Like, what is the deal there? Like I always say, that Britain has had the NHS since 1948 based on the logic, we've been through the war together, we got to value human life above profit of the, you know, the health industry. So no matter what your background, no matter what happens to you, there is going to be a place where you can go get it treated, get it sorted out, and it's not going to cost you anything up front. Of course, it's funded through taxes, isn't it? But like Bernie is saying, it's funded through taxes, but it means you're going to save because you're not paying massive healthcare bills. You're not paying this exploitative, well, you're not paying into this exploitative system. You know, I've read places at $4,000 for an ambulance ride. I was in the ambulance for like 15 minutes or something. I didn't even take any anaesthetic. They didn't give me any laughing gas or anything because I didn't want it. You know, I'd have to pay that much money for that. Where does the cost come from? Do you know what I mean? Where does that money, where are you getting that figure from? And it's just, you know, I've read people who have rattlesnake bites that cost $200,000. I've seen people who have chosen to die from terminal illness instead of getting it treated because they don't want to leave their family with loads of debt. Isn't that a crazy, crazy system? So you have to trust the people who are fighting for these things. Trust people like Bernie Sanders, who wants to give you this healthcare and has been advocating for a similar style of system to the UK for decades. If someone like Elizabeth Warren, Mayor Pete or Tulsi Gabbard, if they're flip-flopping on it, just don't vote for them, because you can't trust them. Like I'm saying, if we can just have it in 1948 after the war, this country was so bankrupt. Cuba has it. It's under embargo from the US, and it's such a poor country. And the US, the most powerful and rich country in the world, can't afford it, but they can afford billions for war nearly every single day. And that just shows you how warped the conversation is. Like, what happened to me could happen to anyone in the world. And what, you're just going to stay at home and bleed out, or crack your own nose back together, or sew your own head up? Is that the extent people will have to go to because they can't afford these massively inflated costs that are just done to benefit the healthcare industry? And it all goes back to capitalism. It's all about making the most profit as possible. And if you want to make the most profit as possible, of course, you're going to jack up the prices. Look at that Martin Shkreli guy who went to prison. Just suddenly jacks up the prices of the medicine he owns. Because why? Because he wants more money. And that is a disgusting system. And I feel bad for you Americans that so many of you have been brainwashed. I'm not talking about my audience specifically, but the fact that there's people who support Democrats who don't support socialised medicine. Are you crazy? In 2019, how many years after we have got universal healthcare in this country, and let's just tie it back to our country, we need to vote people like the Conservatives out. Boris Johnson, who's going to lay the NHS up on a platter for people like Donald Trump and the US healthcare industry. Are we really going to tolerate that? Think about, if you get a similar injury to me, think if you get something worse where you need consistent, expensive treatment, you want to have to pay for that. You want to go bankrupt. And think of the people who are maintaining this service at the moment. Nurses need better pay. There's nurses who use food banks. It's a Tory attack on the NHS, and we need to stop it. And like I'm saying, these nurses that were dealing with me yesterday, they're all from immigrant backgrounds, if not immigrants themselves. And a lot of them are from places like where the Windrush generation came from. And look at the government who facilitated the Windrush scandal, sending people back to countries they hadn't lived in since they were like 4 years old, and they lived here for decades and decades. This racist government that is just attacking, just immigrants in general and the healthcare system. And that is why Brexit is so troubling. It says Boris Johnson just agreed a deal today. It's not going to get passed because no one's going to vote for it. But it just shows what is wrong with this country, and we don't appreciate what we have. So the underlying point is, if you're asking how I feel, by the way, everyone, I feel generally fine. The worst part is my eyes closing over, like you can see there, and I'm probably getting a black eye as well. I feel generally fine. I'm just uncomfortable. But my underlying point is, people in Britain wake up and realise you've got to defend these things, and it's one of the most important things in our country. And I know it's rated really positively when you take opinion polls of it, but everyone always says it's understaffed, there's too many crowds. It's because the right wing are cutting funding for it consistently, attacking the people who work in those industries and not paying them enough, so it's not attractive. They want to privatise it. They want to make profits off this. That's what the Conservatives are. Replace the Conservatives with the free market capitalist party, because that's what they are. Never ever vote for them. And I've made a video about how I voted for them before, why I voted for them before, and how naive I was as like an 18, 19-year-old. But just don't make that mistake. Never vote for them, ever. And the Lib Dems as well, never vote for them either. Sometimes it's just a binary choice. It's good versus bad. And there's a lot of flaws in the Labour Party, but they're not going to privatise the NHS, so just vote for them. And they're better on nearly every policy as well. And America, please vote for Bernie Sanders. And if any of you support Republicans, are you crazy? This one issue just shows how each party and each politician feels about people in general. It's just about being a basically, decent human being, that you care about everyone and you don't want to exploit their injuries, which most of the time they can never ever help. You want to exploit that for profit, and it's just a sick system, and it's a disease of capitalism. Anyway, leave a like if you like the video, maybe subscribe to my channel. Please, in the comments, I know a lot of you from America, please leave some healthcare horror stories to help remind everyone why you need an American-style NHS. Luckily for you guys, my subscribers, I've actually recorded 2 other videos before I had my injury, so I'm going to look nice and recovered for the next 2. But then I'll be back with my ugly face. Hopefully it all, would have healed a bit more by then, and I'll be sure to probably be wearing these when I make my next couple of videos. Some of you have reached out to me on the Twitter and stuff, and you've all been nice, and I thank everyone who's asked how I am. Basically, I'm fine, but it just reminds me how much you have to fight for things like the NHS, how much you have to fight for, you know, people like Bernie Sanders to change countries like America, and it's just something worth fighting for. So if you want to find me on social media, follow me at The Tabernacle on both Twitter and Instagram. Please check out my Patreon if you're interested, and I thank all my patrons for their continued support. I also have a WordPress blog where I write some stuff on, and I haven't written anything in a while really, but I'm going to make top 10s of the decade on movies, films, games, music and stuff, so keep an eye out for that. I'm going to be posting it on the community tab once I get some of them done. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.